Hey guys, so Lord here, back again with another review, and today I'll be taking a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Walgreens exclusive Sentry. And before we get into the meat and taters of this review, kindly moving Mr. Sentry out of the way for just a moment here, so we can take a look at both the front and the back of this cheap arse packaging. Yeah, I gotta tell you, you can't cheese out on the packaging and the figures. You can do one or the other, but you can't do both. And unfortunately, Hasbro'd and did both, because, getting that out of here, while I can't say I give a dying moose's last turd about good old Sentry here, I don't think he's a terrible character, even though he's literally a carbon copy of Superman to a point. He's not Danny Ketch, or, you guessed it, Danny Ketch. But at this point in time, I'm just going to assume that Hasbro is racist towards the spirits of vengeance and will never give me what I want in this line ever. So, moving on from that, Sentry does come with a pair of grip hands. Very nice grip hands, mind you, with trigger fingers and the appropriate hinges, the up and down hinges. For some reason, he didn't come with flight hands, he just came with these. I have questions. That said, I will most likely be using those on somebody. I don't know whom, but somebody. And then he also comes with, speaking of spirits of vengeance, this crazy arse flaming skeleton head, which if it weren't for the flames, you could double as a zombie Thor head, which would be kind of awesome. Somebody could pull that off. But yeah, and Ghost Rider fans, just a quick heads up, this will fit on the Retro Ghost Rider, the Riders Ghost Rider, and the Rhino Wave Ghost Rider figures, since they all share the same neck peg. But I will tell you, it is loose on there. It has a tendency to just kind of fall and give them no neck syndrome. So maybe use some sticky tack to fill that hole out, and you should be good to go, as far as all you guys are into the toy photographies and whatnot. That said, taking a closer look at Mr. Sentry here. Another really solid head sculpt on the figure, out of package. You could use that as a Thor head sculpt too if you wanted to, but really good sculpt on this guy. I much prefer this to the, was it Hyperion body mold, which, thank God they stopped using that dumpster fire of a body. Because, well, let's just say, I used to have that old Sentry figure. Well, it was fine, I guess. I did prefer the colors on it to this banana hammock yellow. He was more of a kind of a cheese mustard yellow, whereas this guy, again, is like a freaking banana, or a minion from Despicable Me, I guess, is another good comparison I could make here. But I traded that old Sentry figure to my good buddy Rusty, aka Skullified, over on Instagram. Hit him up if you haven't already. Take some really cool shots. But yeah, man, I'm so glad that they took this character along with Venom, and a lot of other characters are getting switched from the Hyperion body over to different bodies, and I couldn't be happier, because that body was the hottest of hot garbage, and I'm so glad to see it finally, after all this time, retired. I just wish they retired it before they made Crossbones. That said, I think this guy would have been a little better on the Hercules body. That was a slightly bulkier body, and nothing against this one here. I think the shoulders and the torso and all that's fine. His arms seem a little skinny, and his legs a little stumpy. But other than that, it's fine. It's okay. It's good enough for this character, who, again, I don't give a dying moose's last turd about, so I'll take it. It's fine. What's not fine is how gummy it is, and while I was originally kind of looking forward to this figure, low-key, I wound up with another Sleepwalker situation. Although, unlike Sleepwalker, I don't care about this guy nearly as much, so it wasn't as disappointing, but disappointing enough to where I kind of tweaked the bicep pegs to where they don't feel like they're pulling anymore. I freaking hate that. It feels like they're gonna shear. And anytime I've had that with a figure, guess what happens? The pegs shear when you barely do crap. So Hasbro, once again, if you're going to cheese out on the packaging, don't cheese out on what you put inside, please. Because you're saving money not having plastic on the packaging. But you really need to save more? I mean, I know you're not making that Hell Charger, which is your fault, but yeah, seriously, dude? Like, come on, get with it. The rest of the Hasbro brands don't have these problems. G.I. Joe, Star Wars, Transformers, even freaking Power Rangers, which I don't even screw with those. They don't have these problems. Only Legends have these problems. I don't care about a licensing fee. I don't care what the box looks like. I don't care what you throw in the box. Chances are, alternate hands, you already got the tooling. Only thing you make is new heads. And in this guy's case, a new torso with a very nice cape that is very lightweight and pliable enough to get out of the way. And it doesn't cause any issues getting this guy to stand. So, you know, you spent a little bit of money on this guy, but not nearly enough to cheese out this much. So, you got to step it up, dude. It's 2023 now. This guy came out in 2022. And that's just not acceptable from any company. I mean, a lot of people give the Toddfather crap, but I don't have these problems with his stuff. So, moving on from that, before this turns into a massive rant about how Hasbro can suck it, this guy has a disc hinge in the head, which I would have preferred a double ball peg since this is a new torso, but it is what it is. You do get some tilt because it is a little bit of a lollipop, but since he's got long hair, it hides it, so I won't deduct points for that. That said, his shoulders go out to the side about that far. Back down, they rotate forward and back. He's got a bicep swivel. Double jointed elbow. It's very tight and kind of gummy. Not nearly as bad as Sleepwalkers, though. He does have a swivel at the wrist with a hinge. As far as this guy's ab crunch goes, he can't crunch forward about that far. Back about that far. Kind of looks pregnant, but what are you going to do? It's got a waist swivel. Floaty belt is floaty. And it looks a little gold, but I think I prefer the colors on the old version of this character that they made. I want to say that was in the Allfather wave, right? Man, that was a wave of peg warmers if I ever saw one, but it was an all comic wave, which we don't get all the time anymore, so I guess it did have that going for it. That said, his hips can kick forward pretty far. Back, even a little bit there. Out to the side, not that great. Back down, he's got a thigh cut, double knee. And he's got a boot cut that works. And a hinge in the foot with a rocker and peg holes at the bottom of his very Green Goblin looking feet. I mean, it's not the Green Goblin's foot, but it's got the point, and I can't get that out of my head now. So, yeah, that looks kind of funny. I don't recall the other one having really pointy shoes like that, but to each their own, I guess. But, yeah, that about does it for good old Sentry here. I can tell you wholeheartedly, no, I did not pay full price for this guy, thank goodness. Shout out to the local friend who shall not be named for privacy reasons for the heads up that my local Walgreens, believe it or not, had 6 of these on sale for like 14 bucks. Yeah, I can't believe that crap either. That usually doesn't happen because they didn't get like Baron Zemo or Jigsaw around here. I think there was like a couple Baron Zemo south of here, but as far as my area, like locally, nuh-uh. We didn't get most of the exclusives other than like Binary for like the past couple of years. So it's nice to be able to pick this guy up for a discount. Gotta get a deal, man. Especially when Hasbro wants to cut corners. That's kind of what they deserve. Just saying. But before this review drags out any longer than it already has and turns into another rant, let's now move on and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is good old Sentry alongside Gore, the God Butcher, who I've stripped down a bit so you can see him a little better against my black backdrop here. That said, I believe Gore is a much more acceptably gummy Marvel Legends release as opposed to Sentry here, because while he is gummy, as I previously stated, he's not gummy to where it feels like his joints are going to break on me. So that's a plus. I'm not totally against gumminess, but it needs to be able to withstand the test of time, man. That said, we also have Null, the King in Black, who I'm getting a lot of mileage out of lately, so thanks again, T-Biz, for the hookup on that one. And eagle-eyed comic book readers might know that good old Null here tore poor Sentry in half. And after the night I've had trying to record this review, and Gore the God Butchers actually, I wouldn't mind doing that to somebody else either, but last I checked, that's illegal and I probably wouldn't get away with that. So we're just going to bypass that thought. And last but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, Livid Spawn, who as usual towers over everyone, and much like Null and myself, I do believe that good old Al Simmons has a pretty good chance of tearing poor Sentry in half if we don't wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, when the smoke clears and the dust settles, for 14 bucks, I got two really solid head sculpts and a pair of very useful grip hands, which I will have to find a figure to utilize those on. But unfortunately, other than the well-sculpted anatomy of this figure, that's about it, which sucks because, while I do understand that this is just a retail figure and it's just the Marvel Legends on top of that, which is kind of insulting to retail figures, if I do say so myself. I used to love this line. I used to buy dang near every Marvel Legends figure that came out during the year. Build-A-Figure Wave exclusive, you name it. Chances are I had it, unless it was something to do with, I don't know, San Diego Comic-Con or something crazy like that. You know, some kind of really expensive, hard-to-get exclusive that I just couldn't afford or couldn't get my hands on at the time. And now I'm struggling to come up with a top 10 Marvel Legends of the Year list because I didn't buy probably a quarter of what I used to buy from this line, and that sucks because I love Marvel just as much as I love DC or Star Wars or G.I. Joe or Transformers or any IP you could name. I love Marvel almost as much as those other IPs, with the exception of the big three: Gargoyles, Spawn, and, well, I guess Ghost Rider is technically Marvel, right? But I like him more than the majority of the Marvel Universe. Unless we're talking Spider-Man, then that's a different story, but you guys know what I mean. I love Marvel, and I hate to see a line that I love go down the crapper because people are too stingy and cheap to make it A, what it should be, and B, what it could be. And unfortunately, poor Sentry here is one of those figures. While it does have some really nice head sculpts, and a really nice sculpt overall, I just can't recommend this one for the original retail price. But if you can pick it up for less than 20 bucks like I did, I don't think you'll be too disappointed. And maybe at the end of the day, I got a fluke. Maybe mine is just how it is, and they're not all like it. But if they are, well, then I have a hard time saying that it's worth the 25 bucks it originally retailed for. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you're so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when a line I used to love is going down the toilet real fast. And I feel like 3 price hikes in a year's time, the packaging change, and a failed HasLab are just the start of what is going to be a major crapshoot in 2023. And to be quite frank, as bad as I do want a new Danny Ketch, I want one when they get their act together, because this type of quality on a character like that, you better believe that's going to be one heck of a rant if it does happen. So, with that being said, until next time, I'll catch you guys later.